In the world of high-stakes cybersecurity, we are conditioned to imagine the quintessential hacker as a shadow figure in a dark room, furiously typing lines of complex code, fighting through firewalls like a digital warrior. We imagine sophisticated algorithms, zero-day vulnerabilities, and elaborate backdoors. But the most devastating cyber attack in the history of the modern casino industry wasn't brought about by a secret line of code. It was brought about by a conversation. A simple, 10-minute phone call. And the people on the other end of that line weren't state-sponsored intelligence agents or seasoned cyber terrorists. They were, in many instances, just teenagers and young adults sitting in their bedrooms, using the most powerful weapon in the world, the human psyche. This is the story of Scattered Spider, a loose-knit collective of young, English-speaking hackers who managed to do what once seemed impossible. They brought billion-dollar empires like MGM Resorts and Caesars Entertainment to a complete, screeching halt. They didn't crack the code, they cracked the culture. To understand how this happened, you have to throw away the Hollywood version of hacking. The group, often referred to by cybersecurity researchers under monikers like UNC 3944, Octotempest, or even, the community, doesn't rely on being the best programmers in the room. They rely on being the most persuasive. Their methodology is rooted in social engineering. It is the art of deception, of pretending to be someone you aren't to gain access to something you shouldn't have. Imagine you are an IT help desk employee at a massive, global corporation. Your phone rings. The person on the other end sounds like a stressed-out coworker. They have lost their password, their multi-factor authentication device is broken, or they have simply locked themselves out of their account. They give you the right name, the right department, and perhaps even a bit of internal company jargon they pulled from a LinkedIn profile or a publicly accessible directory. They sound frustrated, they sound tired, and most importantly, they sound like someone who just wants to get back to work. You, the employee, are programmed to be helpful. You want to solve the problem and get off the phone. So, you reset the credentials. You approve the request. In that single moment of human kindness, the security of an entire network dissolves. That is the Scattered Spider blueprint. They don't break in, they are invited in. Once they gained that initial foothold, the shift was rapid. They didn't just browse files, they moved laterally. They would compromise privileged accounts, often targeting the IT staff themselves. Once they had those administrative rights, the entire network was effectively their playground. They would deploy ransomware, not just to lock data, but to hold the company's very existence hostage. They were pioneers of double extortion. It wasn't enough to encrypt the systems and demand a payout to unlock them. They would also threaten to dump sensitive customer data, driver's licenses, and social security numbers onto the dark web unless a second, larger fee was paid. The MGM Resorts hack of 2023 is the gold standard for this kind of chaos. It was a digital siege. Slot machines went dark, hotel keys stopped working, and the reservation systems that kept one of the world's largest hospitality hubs running simply ceased to function. The company was forced to move to a manual, paper-based operation in an era where paper-based processes had been obsolete for decades. It was a total, system-wide collapse caused by a teenager who likely spent more time on Telegram and Discord than they did in a classroom. The reality of who these people are is perhaps the most uncomfortable part of the story. Reports have consistently linked the group to young adults and teenagers, some living in the United States and the United Kingdom. They are part of a broader, fluid ecosystem of cybercrime. They aren't a traditional hierarchy with a leader and a mission statement. They are a network of peers, often trading tips, tools, and access credentials. Some of them have been arrested, with law enforcement agencies like the FBI and international police forces finally catching up to them after months of intense investigation. But the group is remarkably resilient. When one member is arrested, the collective adapts. The infrastructure changes. The tactics evolve. The danger of Scattered Spider isn't just that they stole millions of dollars or disrupted major infrastructure, it is that they exposed the fragility of the human firewall. For years, corporations spent billions on software, on EDR, on SIEM, on AI-driven threat detection. They built walls that were miles high, only to realize that they had left the front door unlocked, and a teenager with a headset was talking their way inside. It is a sobering lesson for the digital age. As we continue to automate our lives and rely on interconnected systems, our greatest vulnerability remains our own willingness to trust. We teach our employees to look for phishing emails, but we often fail to teach them to be skeptical of a human voice on the phone. We emphasize technical security but overlook the basic psychological manipulation that has been used by con artists for centuries. The era of scattered spiders should have been a massive turning point. It highlighted that the most sophisticated security system in the world is only as strong as the person who answers the help desk call. It forced organizations to rethink their identity verification processes, to move away from SMS-based multi-factor authentication, and to implement strict, multi-step protocols for even the most mundane administrative changes. Yet, even with these lessons, the threat persists. The tools are cheaper, the platforms are more integrated, and the incentives for cybercrime are higher than ever. Scattered Spider proved that you don't need a PhD in computer science to bring down a giant. You just need a social media account, a convincing voice, and an understanding of human nature. As we look at the future of digital security, we must recognize that we aren't just fighting code. We are fighting a new breed of criminal who understands that the keyboard is less powerful than the conversation. The neon lights of Las Vegas are back on, the slot machines are humming, and the servers are running, but the lesson lingers: the most dangerous exploit in the history of the internet wasn't a piece of malware. It was the person sitting at the desk, just trying to be helpful. What aspects of modern corporate cybersecurity do you think are currently the most vulnerable to these social engineering tactics, and how can companies better protect themselves?